Hello, how's it going, champs? Thanks for being there. This is The Word. Maldini, your channel. English football has a very special magic, and the final of the League Cup, the Carabao Cup, has just ended. It is the third most important tournament in England, and Newcastle has won. And it was a final very emotional, very emotional, very, very emotional. Newcastle wins a local title 70 years later. 7 years. A very big team like Newcastle has been waiting to win a local title. The first goal was scored by Burnm. There is Burnm's goal, who is a true local idol, Dan Burnm. And also Newcastle's all-time top scorer, Alan Shearer, who has played great matches at Wembley, has celebrated. We have the image. He has celebrated from the stands, from a section of the stands with his Newcastle scarf, the legend Alan Shearer, who, for example, was the top scorer of the Euro Cup in '96. At Wembley with the English national team, a true legend of English football. A Newcastle fan who played, of course, for Newcastle, a scorer for Newcastle, and who has celebrated the title. As I said, 7 years later, Newcastle wins a local title. Today, they had several heroes. The main one is Burnm as well, but watch out for the great match Isak played. And I want to talk a lot about this final. It just ended. The first half, to be honest, was quite boring. Let's not kid ourselves. But that goal in the last moment of the first half by Burnm really opened up the game. And in the second half, honestly, it was a very emotional match. By the way, Burnm Guimaraes, the Brazilian international player whom I really like, I talked a lot about him when he was at Atlético Paranaense, mentioned after the match that it was the greatest joy of his life. This title with Newcastle, it means everything for Newcastle, this title. I know it's not the most important title, logically, of course not, but Newcastle, which is fighting to enter the Champions League, has just achieved an absolutely historic title because they have been waiting 70 years to win this title. And it has everything. The night has been, or rather the afternoon at Wembley, of course. Wembley was packed. It was very emotional with a lot to analyze, and we're going to do it now because certainly the match, as I said, has left a lot. Here we have this joy with Harvey Vance, with Guimaraes, with Isak himself. In short, a tremendous match. And I also want to talk about Liverpool, of course, because not too long ago, as we see Isak here, it was quite a while ago, not that long, that there was talk of Liverpool possibly winning all 4 titles. Bruno already lost the English Cup against Plymouth, but they are going to win the Premier League, which is, of course, the most important title within local football. However, what could have been an absolutely glorious season for Liverpool is going to turn into a very good season because they will win the Premier League. And that makes it a very good season, but certainly they have lost 2 titles in 1 week. And here, this image we see with Isak's goal by Van Dijk quite defines what Liverpool's week has been like. Eliminated. In the champions, Burnm, by PSG Marseille, what happens is that it coincides with Atletico Barça, which I will comment on in a copy, so I won't be able to watch it live. But I'll see if I have time to make a video for you as well. But they have lost 2 titles in just a few days. The Champions League, logically, already eliminated in the round of 16, and the League Cup, where they were the top favorite. And one has to wonder if it has been. Here we have another image of Van Dijk with his hands on his head, because he knew that from there on they had almost no chances. It's true that Chiesa scored very late, a goal that was heavily scrutinized by the referee for a possible offside, which ultimately wasn't. But Liverpool almost had no chances, having played, in my opinion, a rather poor match. Now, I have to say that, for me, Liverpool played a rather poor match, without taking any credit away, of course, which they deserve, and a lot to Newcastle. But Liverpool's match was quite disappointing. Liverpool came out with this team. Here we have Kelleher in goal, Kwanzaa, injured Arnold, Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson, MacAllister, and Gravenberch, who have been quite absent today in what should be the key creation of play, at least in terms of offensive play. Then let's look at some data. Liverpool had more possession, but they created far fewer chances. In the first half, Liverpool did not shoot on target. In fact, in the first half, Liverpool, until the last moment, had not touched the ball in the opponent's area. In other words, Liverpool's first half was non-existent in attack. Luis Díaz, Szoboszlai, Salah, and Jota. Salah is also going through a rather bad phase. The last few matches have been very disappointing, including today's, of course. And much more was needed from Salah, both in the match against PSG and today, and he hasn't had it. In goal, Poob, who made a spectacular but impressive save. In the second half, Trippier, Schär, Burnm, and Livramento international, and called up for the national team, by the way. We recently saw the first list of Thomas Tuchel, Tonali, who is a player I love, as you know, Burnm Guimaraes and Joelinton. He is in Newcastle's midfield. Keep an eye on Manchester City because this Newcastle has a team to take away their Champions League spot. Watch out for Manchester City because Newcastle could take the Champions League spot from them. Burnm Guimaraes is a fantastic player for the midfield to play further up, a retriever, distributor. Tonali, who I believe can perform best in this pivot position. And Joelinton, who is pure hard work, besides quality, pure aggressiveness. For me, Joelinton is also a player I really like. Sometimes he goes a little overboard. With being violent, it must be said. Murphy on the right, Isak as the forward centre, and what a season. For example, also for Isak and Harvey Byrne on the left. These have been the starting 11 for both teams. And I have to say that the first half is not just disappointing for Liverpool. It has been a disaster for Liverpool in the first half. I mean, the first half was quite boring, a slow match. Practically nothing was happening. And in the first half, Liverpool just hasn't. Let's look at the flash score data to see the first half that Liverpool played, which was disappointing, right? The next thing, friends of the world, Maldini, I mean, disappointing? No, beyond disappointing. The first half that Liverpool played was absolutely dreadful. Let's look at it here. We already have it here. Here we have Liverpool 1, Newcastle 2, and look at Liverpool's first half. Let's look at the first half. Only one shot, none on target compared to Newcastle's 9 shots and 3 on target. This was the first half. We'll look at the second half later, but this was Liverpool's first half. Absolutely nothing. And it's true that Liverpool had more possession, but if you have the ball and don't know how to make use of it, there's little you can do. Here we have another shot of Burn's goal, which was magnificent. Newcastle, from the very beginning, gave more of an impression of. It seemed like they were playing for more. It's also true that surely for Newcastle, this final was much more important than for Liverpool. I'm not saying it wasn't. Of course, Liverpool is a team accustomed to winning titles. Not so long ago, they won a Champions League. They are going to win the Premier League, and Newcastle, which hadn't won a title in 70 years. That can be understood. But certainly, in terms of football, Liverpool has been well below their level. Both Mohamed Salah and Luis Díaz were almost invisible, as was Szoboszlai. And, well, Diogo Jota once again. Then Darwin Núñez came on in the final stretch. He had a chance. Kisa came on, scored the goal. But very, very weak. Liverpool's performance. Let's enjoy this photo of Byrne again. Another photo of Byrne's goal, which is a goal. For the history of Newcastle, a team that not so many years ago was playing in the Champions League. Well, not so many years ago, very recently was playing in the Champions League. You will all remember that match against Paris Saint-Germain. It was last season, if I'm not mistaken. It was last season playing in the Champions League. They had a very difficult group. And I also remember Newcastle with Tino Asprilla, for example, playing in the Champions League many years ago. Surely some of you are much younger and don't remember all of this. The local hero, Dunburn, well, the great match by Murphy. Very good match by Joelinton. The 3 midfielders, Burnm Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joelinton, have all played very well. And there were moments when Newcastle ended up overwhelming Liverpool with their intensity. Exactly what Liverpool usually has. Today, Newcastle had it. Only in the final stretch, here's Isak's goal. Only in the final stretch did I feel that they truly got into the game. Liverpool, but only in the very final stretch. I saw Liverpool practically without claws. Without claws and without spirit, practically not creating any danger, very little. Let's see here we have, let's see some more images of Isak's goal, of Isak's joy. The truth is that for Newcastle today is an absolutely historic and memorable day. Friends of Mundo, Maldini. English football has something very special, which is in these finals, the weight of the legend, right? Of these finals, and this legend will go down in the annals of English football history. For sure, Joelinton, one of the key men for today's match. I want to finish watching in the second, the complete match. Here we have it with flash score. In the end, well, let's see. In the second half, 7 shots, but almost all. In the final stretch, Liverpool had 8 shots compared to Newcastle's, 3 on target, meaning Liverpool played a final where they shot 3 times on target. And 8 times compared to Newcastle's 17 and 6 on target. They were superior to Newcastle, despite Liverpool having much more possession, but little depth with MacAllister, little depth with Bruno Szoboszlai. He has hardly appeared as well. Little depth on the flanks with Luis Díaz and Salah. And a title slips away from Liverpool. 3 have already slipped away this season. They can only win 1, which they will obviously win, which is the Premier League. Tremendous victory. Tremendous. From Newcastle. In a little while, Atletico de Madrid and Barcelona will start. I will comment on it on Cope, and you will have a video as soon as it ends, of course. But I had to make this video, Friends of the World, Maldini. Congratulations to Newcastle, a very great team. A hug. Bye.